Hey guys, what's up? Top tier TCG here, and I'm back with another small video. And in today's video, we're going to explain to you my new Raging Bolt EX deck that I've made for post rotation. I noticed that some people liked the last video that I made. Very little amount of views, but still something. And someone said the audio was way too quiet, so hopefully this video is a lot better. But just get yourself ready, get some popcorn, get your favorite drink, because I'm just going to do an overview of all the cards I have in this deck and what they're used for. So if you're a new player to the Pokemon TCG or Raging Bolt in general, hopefully this is a good overview for you. But again, I made this for post rotation. Why I did it? I'm gonna go to the New Orleans International event in June, and I still wanted to take Raging Bolt. And that's going to be one of the decks that's going to be affected after rotation, because we're going to lose Pokestop, we're going to lose Greninja, we're going to lose Trekking Shoes, we're going to lose a few other things that are really important to this deck. And I wanted to see how it would stand post rotation. Is this deck going to be viable anymore? I personally think it could be. We just had the last regional in Toronto, and a Raging Bolt EX deck took second or third, not too sure. But it was a Raging Bolt EX deck, and it's similar to this build, but we're going to see how it does in post-rotation. So let's get started. Pokemon TCG on the desktop is horrible. I'm going to make a whole video on that later on the way its layout is. Like, I want to see all my cards up here to the left, but they just don't have it set that way. I'm going to start off with Raging Bolt, and I'm just going to move through the deck. That way you guys can see everything. But let's go. Let's jump right in. So the first card I have in here is my Raging Bolt EX, and I have 4 of them, and that's just for consistency, to make sure I can try to get this card started in the beginning, whether I go first or second. The point of Raging Bolt EX, in my opinion, is just to get all these energies on the board and do big hits and knock out everything. And honestly, I like to play the game that way. Some people don't. A lot of pros actually kind of don't even like Raging Bolt EX just because it's a very simple deck. They kind of want a more experimental. But I enjoy like boosted decks, and I enjoy just donking on my opponents and just hitting them with as much damage as possible. I think it's fun to play that way. Other people like to do strategic ways. But as far as like keeping things simple, this is probably a good deck to start off with if you're playing. When rotation hits, Gardevoir EX won't be a problem anymore. Regidrago won't be a problem anymore. Lugia V-Star is not going to be around. So there's a good handful of decks that aren't going to be here anymore for Raging Bolt to be scared of, but there's still some that are just going to be challenging for it. So hopefully this will help you. But we have with 4, and we have 2 attacks. We mainly want to use the second attack, Bellowing Thunder, but the first attack is really useful for when you go second and you just don't have the right cards. But with Bellowing Thunder, you may discard any amount of energy from any of your Pokemon on the board, and it does 70 damage for each one. So let's say you had 4 energies attached to Raging Bolt EX, or 4 energies in total on your deck, on your field. You can do 280 damage. And then if you have 5, you can do 350. So there's a lot of things you can do with it as far as damage-wise. And the whole point is just to get as much energy as possible on the board and let him do his thing. He's like a freaking saber-toothed tiger with a long neck, just going for his prey, and he's going to like sink his teeth into him and just knock him out. The next card that I'm going to show you guys is the Teal Mask Ogerpon, and this is the support card for him. This is what kind of gets all those energies on the board as fast as possible and kind of acts as your draw engine. Before we'd have Teal Mask Ogerpon and Greninja, and since we're getting Greninja out, I kind of just added the extra Teal Mask Ogerpon. Well, some people do 4. I'm personally doing 3. Some people add Mew EX, but I kind of just don't really like Mew EX as far as a liability issue, because he just gets knocked out too fast. So this is a beautiful card. The ability Teal Dance, attach a grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon, and you can draw an extra card. And it doesn't count as your energy attachment. So if you have 3 of these guys on the board, you're doing 3 energy attachments if you have grass, and you're drawing 3 cards, which could get you the supporter or the item card you need or the extra Pokemon that you need, which is super useful. And then we're going to go to the next card here. This is where my deck gets kind of a little weird. I have a Slitherwing, and it has 2 moves, both of them for fighting energy. The first one, Stomp Off. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck. That move is not that great, but it's kind of useful in situations. And then we have the Burning Turbulence. This is the one that kind of mitigates people's Pikachu EXs because it'll do double damage and it adds a burn effect. So even if that Pikachu's in full health, it can still, when your turn ends, that fire damage hits and it just knocks out that Pikachu. So this is like a Pikachu deterrent, and also knocks out their Phesandipides and some other Pokemon that they might be carrying. And then we have one Koraidon, and we're mainly using it for this first attack right here. And this is a card you want to use after you use Raging Bolt or Slitherwing, because what it does is only does 30 damage, but if one of your ancient Pokemon uses an attack during the last turn, this does 150. So that is 180 damage. And if you're playing a Miraidon deck, or someone that has an Iron Hands, this will definitely knock it out. Or if you have someone, you can get that person's Squawkabilly or their Mew EX, take them out, and this card will do that for 2 energy, and it's 2 cardless energy, so you can do a combination of Grass, Electric, and Fist, which is what this deck carries, which I'll show in a bit. But this one's a really good standalone card to have. I actually won a Mimikyu stall deck with Giraffig EX and stuff with just my Slitherwing and my Koraidon. And I didn't think I could win that because I only have 2 of those freaking cards, but we managed to pull it off. I wish I had a video of it. But that's what the Koraidon's there for. Nothing too crazy. I wouldn't use those 2 cards unless it's your last resort, but they're always nice to sneak out and have and use, like Professor Sada's Vitality. Next card we have is a Squawkabilly EX. This is kind of like a staple for a lot of decks, but especially for Raging Bolt. I have mixed feelings about this card, but I decided to put it in anyways. Just because, like, once you use it, he's just a liability. But if you can get him, use your Raging Bolt, then your Squawkabilly, and then use your Squawk and Seize ability to get those extra cards, that's really nice. On turn 2, it's really, really nice because you can still have a chance to attack and stuff like that. But turn 1, it kind of helps, especially when you have, like, just a wall of cards that are worthless to you. So, prevents that bricking in the beginning, which is a big issue for a lot of Raging Bolt decks. But I'm hoping that this deck list kind of shows that we can kind of get rid of that now. And then we're going to the classic Pheasantipede. This one's, you know, it's a staple in every deck. If you get a Pokemon that gets knocked out, you can use its ability to draw 3 extra cards at the beginning of your turn, end of your turn, whatever you want to do with it. It's a really nice way just to come back and try to get the cards you need. And that mixed with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, you're kind of... If you have all 3 out, get a Pokemon knockdown, you have the Pheasantipede, you're drawing 3 from your Teal Mask, then you're drawing 3 from your Pheasantipede, so that's 6 cards. And then if you have Professor Sada's, you're drawing 3 more cards. So you're drawing 9 cards in one turn, and then plus that one in the beginning of your turn, so 10 cards. So you're hopefully going to find what you need. Especially with Trekking Shoes being gone, it's going to be a lot harder to skim through your deck and just get things out. But hopefully this is a card that you can use. I like to add a Bravery Charm to him just because it's only 210 and people knock that out easily. As you can see, it's a fighting weakness, so if you're playing mirrors, maybe try not to put this card out, but best of luck. And then finally, the newest addition is the Latias EX from, what's it, Surging Sparks? Yeah. I love this card. It kind of helps you a lot in a sense of where you don't have to worry about any of your Pokemon to retreat. And the biggest thing about this deck is that it's all basic. It's all basic Pokemon, which is also its biggest weakness because things like, what was that one card? Noivern EX, where it does no damage from basic EX. And then that Giraffig Evolution EX card, I don't know what it is, but that one makes it to where basic EX Pokemon can't attack you. So that's like the biggest drawback about this deck. And there's no card that I've seen in post-rotation that can help it, but who knows, maybe we have 2 more sets before rotation hits, so maybe there'll be a card in there that kind of helps out with that. Who knows? But Latias in the meantime makes it sure that none of your Pokemon have a retreat cost, which is really nice because you don't have to use up your resources, and you're kind of thinking like, well, I can use them, get them back, but you want to make sure you have all those energies on the board, so because the less energy you have, the weaker your attack is. But yeah, that is all the Pokemon. And now I'm gonna do the energy just to get those out of the way. I like to play 3 electric energy, 6 grass energy, and 3 fighting energy. Normally people kind of just play 5 grass energy, which is totally fine. I just feel more comfortable with 6. I feel like I have a better draw rate for when I have my Teal Mask and I have those energies out. So that's why I chose 6. That's totally up to you. You can modify that. And then let's get to the trainers here. These are all jumbled up. I hate you, Pokemon, but we're going to go through them all the way from Pokegear 3.0 to Earthen Vessel. So I carry two Pokegear 3.0s. You can carry three if you want, but maybe one is not enough. I use these to look at the top 7 cards of my deck, and I may reveal a supporter and put that in my hand and shuffle my cards back into my deck. So we're using this to get our Briards, our Boss's Orders, and our Professor Sada's Vitality, most importantly. But this can come in clutch, especially towards the end game when you haven't used any of them, and you're looking for that specific supporter to get you through it. Or in the beginning of the game when you can use to get like a Crispin, which is what I use in this deck. If you're going turn 2, your first turn, Pokegear for a Crispin, and then you can attach 2 energies to your Raging Bolt or attach an energy to your Raging Bolt and use the other one for Teal Mask ability. But this card's super useful. You want to carry at least 2. If you want to do 3, that's totally up to you. And then Energy Search. This is one of the newer cards that I put in here for post-rotation. So, search your deck for a basic energy card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. I think this is a really good card that's being totally underlooked, especially for the Raging Bolt deck, because sometimes you are looking for that specific energy, and there's so little energy in your deck. There's only 12, and they're 3 different kinds, so you kind of like you can't bank on pulling the right energy card. So these mitigate that risk of not being able to have the right card. And especially if it's first turn and you only have a Teal Mask, if you have an Energy Search, boom, get your Grass Energy, and you can just kind of get your draw engine started. But that's what I mainly use it for. It comes in clutch when I have 2 fighting energies and have 0 electric energies in my hand. This thing pops up, and I combination with like a super rod, get those other energies I need back in my deck. Sorry if it sounds complicated, but that has saved me in a couple matches, and I use my energy search to get the energy I need, and I didn't have to rely on using a draw engine. So there's that. And I carry 3 of those because you never know, and getting them first turn is always really nice to make sure you just have your handful of energies. And then we have Energy Retrieval. So I carry 2 of those. The latest deck that won third in Toronto carries 3, which is pretty crazy. I get it, because sometimes you start off with your hand with both, and you have to discard them just to use your Squawk ability. But these are to get your grass energies back, or at least 1 grass, 1 fist, or any combination of that, especially after you just used a big attack and you need to get your draw engine going, get both those grass energies back, use them on your Teal Mask Ogerpon, and you can get the ball rolling again. So this is a good way to get your energies back to you. And it's really weird because it feels like you have unlimited energy when you use these guys, because you're just recycling things over and over and over again. But I carry 2, really useful card, kind of get what you need and not sacrifice anything. And now we're moving on to another card that's pretty new for this deck, and it's going to be Cycling Road. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard a basic energy card from their hand in order to draw a card. So this is basically a weaker Greninja. There's pros and cons. Greninja lets you draw 2 cards when you discard an energy. This one only lets you draw 1. But also, you don't have to worry about that space on your board, because your opponent kind of wants to use this card too. And so you both basically have like a weaker Greninja to share, and you don't have to worry about your bench space being filled with something that can get sniped. So I like this card. I only carry 1. Maybe we'll move it to 2 later on, but for now, this is how I'm experimenting with it. So we're just going to stick to 1 Cycling Road. And you kind of want to use this in the beginning of the match, that way you're not too worried about your energies. But this is a kind of a good way to combine with some other cards. Now, of course, the ace spec of choice, we're going to use the Prime Catcher. I have been debating of putting an Unfair stamp, but this thing comes in handy way too much, especially middle of the game if you haven't used it, or beginning of the game if someone has like a Iron Thorns and you just need to use this to get them out of the way so you can use your abilities. It's a really nice one to use. Just really good overall in any situation. If you haven't decided what ace spec to use in most of your decks, Prime Catcher. There's tons of other ones, but I think Prime Catcher is the best one, personally. And obviously you can only have 1. And then we have Night Stretcher. This is a really awesome card. Thank God it's not going out of rotation, but you can put a basic energy or a Pokemon into your hand. I love using this when they knock out my Koraidons, or when they knock out Pheasantipity, because you can just get it right back in. And it also doubles as something you can get your energy back for. So if you have an energy retrieval and you have a Night Stretcher and you're like, damn it, I need to draw 2 cards, or I need to attach these 2 energies to Teal Mask, and I also need 1 more energy for my Raging Bolt. Combination of that is perfect. You get whatever you need, and I think 2 is enough. If you do 3, maybe that's a little too much. You could probably use your deck space for something else, but 2 is perfect. And we're going to move on to the next one right here. It's Pal Pad. We only use 1 of these. 2 is overkill. but you can use this to put your supporters from your discard pile back into your deck, 2 of them specifically. And this is nice because we only carry 1 Boss's Order, we only carry 1 Briar, we only carry 1 Crispin, and we carry 4 Professor Sada's Vitality. So this is nice to use in case you gotta throw away one of those in the beginning, put them back in, or if it's end game, if you used 3 of your Sadas and you have like 10 cards left, Pal Pad, put 2 more Sadas in there, and you're guaranteed to draw it out on your next turn. But this is a good card to have in just in case. And then we move over to Nest Ball, and we're going to have 4 of these bad boys because you want to get those in the beginning of the turn, get your Raging Bolts out, get your Teal Mask Ogre Pawns, get your Latias out, get all those cards you need as fast as possible, and Nest Ball lets you get anything. And all your Pokemon in your deck are basic, so it's the most viable one, I think. You could use a Terra Orb. Some people think about that, but you're only going to get your Teal Mask out of that. So, 4. And then this is where some people have debates. I put 2 Bravery Charms, and that's only because I have a different tool in here as well. I do 2 Bravery Charms, and I mainly put this on my Teal Mask Ogre Pond, or my Pheasantipity, or my Koraidon, or whatever. I rarely put him on Raging Bolt, just because I'd rather use my Ancient Boost Capsule on him. But this is really nice, especially with Dragapult, because he will just slowly tear down your Pokemon and then snipe them. And this is a good way to mitigate that or buy you an extra turn with that extra HP. The numbers are weird for them to hit, so you can have that chance. Obviously, this isn't going to go away, so throw it in there. At least 2. And then we have Jamming Tower as my second stadium that I use. And I use this mainly because of Gardevoir, just so their Bravery Charms don't work, or I play it after they attach their Bravery Charm and do all the damage to themselves. And this kind of helps with Dragapult too, because if they have no way to get rid of it, their A-spec of choice usually is the crystal. I forgot what that crystal is, but it only has them use 1 energy less instead of 2 or whatever. But that kind of helps mitigate that. Or when someone uses a Technical Machine, if I have this out first, the Technical Machine is useless, so it buys me a turn or 2 to get those energies attached and attack. Though it does make your tool cards not work, you kind of don't have to worry about it if you're the one attacking, because you just want to get ahead. Like, that's the whole point of Raging Bolt, is to get ahead of your opponent as fast as possible. Like, just run, and kill. So this is a nice tech card to have in there. I only carry 1. You don't want to have too many stadium cards. And then, here's the first supporter to pop up on the list. The Boss's Orders. This is a beautiful card. Just grab any of your opponent's Pokemon and put them in from the bench to your active spot. If you already have all the energies you need, you can use this to get their Pheasantipity killed, or you can knock out their Squawkabilly, or whatever. If they kind of have a Pokemon that they're trying to set up, you can always use this to get out of the way. What I notice when I play against like Charizard decks, if they only have 1 Charmander, I like to try to get him out as quick as possible to make it more difficult for them. So Boss's Order is one of those cards that kind of helps you early game too, because you only need like 1 or 2 energies to knock out most people's Pokemon if they're using like evolutions. So Boss's Orders, it explains itself. Here's one that's kind of situational, actually very situational. A Briar. If your opponent only has 2 prize cards, exactly 2, when you knock out your opponent's active Pokemon with a Terra, it does 1 extra prize card for you. So this helps very late game. Very hard to pull off on this deck unless you're playing for weakness. But sometimes if they have 2 and you have 3, it helps if you knock out their EX Pokemon if it's a weak one. You kind of have to work harder for it, but like if you have 2 and they have 2, you can always take out their Greninja or one of their little support Pokemon with the Teal Mask Ogre Pond with just 4 energies on there, which should be pretty easy to do. It depends. You gotta see what your opponent is playing. If you can't predict it, I wouldn't use it, but if you're good at seeing what your opponent's gonna play, it's a good card to have for those situations. They really end up winning you the match sometimes. So only carry 1 of those, no more than that, no need. And it is a supporter, so you got to make sure you're set up to use it. And then here's the money maker here, Professor Sada's Vitality. Choose up to 2 ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of them. If you attach this energy in this way, draw 3 cards. Such a good card. Why wouldn't you want this? 4 of those in there, and you kind of want to use them every single turn. If you can use the Professor Zada's for 4 turns in a row, you probably won the match. You won't need to, because you kind of want to win in 3 turns, but If you had to use all 4, that's okay. This card just sets up your board really well, and you draw cards, and you haven't used your energy attachment, like, so it's a no-brainer to have this, and you want to have 4 because you want to be consistent with it. You want to have this like turn 2 every time, so get 4 of those. Don't go any lower than that. And then we have Super Rod. Some people use more energy retrievals, or what was the other one, superior energy retrieval. I like to use Super Rod, especially at the end of the game if I need to draw out some grass energy, or I need to draw my Pokemon and I have a nest ball but it's knocked out. Super Rod with a couple energy in there. This also helps out with decks that make you thin out. Towards the end, I've saved myself using a Super Rod and getting 3 more cards in my deck to get the cards I needed and knock out my opponent and not have to deal with a deck out, which is really sad when you try really hard, because this deck makes you go through your deck pretty quick. Albeit in post-rotation it's a little slower, but before you would run out of cards if you weren't paying attention. So the Super Rod really helps. I only carry 1, maybe 2, or unless they come out with a card that helps with not getting decked out in the future in the next 2 sets, but I don't know if that's coming. But Super Rod, beautiful card to use. And then I think we have like 3 more. Crispin, this one's one that some people don't really like to use in this deck. I can see why, but I like it when if I go second and I pull this card instead of a Sada, I'm happy because I can get my 2 energies on my Raging Bolt, no problem. Or if I have a Teal Mask and a Raging Bolt, and I already have an Electric Energy or a Fist Energy in my hand, I use this to grab the energy I need, and then a Grass Energy. That way I can do 210 damage. Or if I have 2 Teal Masks, and the situation's right there. You just get that energy attachment, and you draw an energy card. So that's a really nice one to have. And endgame. Sometimes I just need 2 energy. And that's when you use that Super Rod and use a Crispin to get those 2 energy out and just win yourself the match. This could be really useless, too. If you have very little energy on the board in the middle of the game, this is not a card you want to use. But if it's in the beginning where you need to start setting up, or if it's at the end when you kind of have the cards you need, this is a really solid card to use. And then we have the second tool card that I use. It's the Ancient Boost Energy Capsule. The Ancient Pokemon this card is attached to gets 60 HP and recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by any special conditions. And I put these on my Raging Bolt because we're not getting paralyzed, we're not getting confused or poisoned or sleeping. And we get up to 300 HP. And that makes it kind of difficult for most cards to try to knock out. That's pretty hefty, That's a big boy. So I carry 2 of those just because you're mostly just going to play 2 Raging Bolts on the floor. Maybe attach 1 to your Slitherwing just so you can use the attack twice and not get knocked out. It is what it is. I would use it. You should use it. I only use 2. And then we have 2 Ultra Balls. This is just so I can thin out my deck and get whatever card I need at the time. I know I have the Nest Ball, but this also helps in the beginning of the game if you want to get rid of an energy so you can use your Sada to attach. I like to use the Ultra Ball and get whatever card I need. And that's pretty much it with this card. It's not as great as it used to be. Like when Sun and Moon came out, everyone loved this card, but it's just nice to have. And I only use 2. Kind of a throwaway card later on. Then we have 1 switch. I used to carry like 3 of them in here, but now with the Latias, I only carry 1 just in case I don't pull that Latias, or if I prize it. It helps a lot with that. But you're kind of using this to get out of situations you don't want to be in, or switch out your other Pokemon. But you only need 1 of those, or 2, if you don't have the Latias. Up to you. And then finally we have Earthen Vessel. This is another money maker, and we carry 4 of these. You can use this card only if you discard another card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and reveal them and put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. So you can grab your Electric, your Fighting, and your Grass, 1 of each, 2 of each, whatever you want to do. It's basically a Crispin without the attachment, and it's an item. Beautiful card to use. Get the engine going, get the attack going. You can do whatever you want with this card. That's beautiful. But I think that's it. That's all the cards I have here. Yep. That's my deck, guys. What do you think? Is it worth playing? I'm going to do a video with some matchups soon. But I just wanted to do an explanation video to show you guys how I use the deck and what cards are in it, and with some better audio. So hopefully this video comes out a little better. Thank you to the 2 people who subscribed from the last video. You guys are awesome. And thank you for the people who've been watching and liking the other video. If you liked what I made just now, don't forget to subscribe and like and comment your opinion on it. If this sucked, let me know it sucked, because I'm trying to get better. I just started this YouTube channel because I love Pokemon, and I want to prepare for New Orleans, and I want to see if people like my ideas. So thank you guys for watching. Again, Top Tier TCG. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.